Another personal one this week, as in no fancy editing. When faced with problems in life, I like to think that there's two main categories of responses to problems in life. The first one is to act, the second one is to adapt. When I was in middle school, a friend of mine was faced with a challenge, and they chose to act. And I remember wondering, well, what would the cost of not acting be? This led to this idea of weighing the options with adapting to a problem in your life and acting on it. Acting might cost time and money and effort, but then you might be free of the problem, whereas adapting to a problem might be an amount of effort in the long term. But I like to think that basically any problem in life works this way, unless adapting would lead to your death. Like, if you get stabbed, you have to take care of that. You can't just adapt to it. But most problems in life, I would say, are not like that. This was back in middle school when I didn't have a mindscape, so I just viewed this mentally as what I liked to call the great binaries, which I ended up discovering independently that that's awfully similar to some of the Hermetic ideals, like as above, so below. There's always a sacred masculine and feminine. And I know these days the word binary really branches out from what I mean it as one or the other, or zeros and ones in programming, but I still think it has a lot of value there. So of all the this or that's in life, I think acting or adapting is an important one. And I feel as though that the longer you think about which one you're going to do, you enter what I like to call the complaint space, where it's easy to complain about things because you're not taking action, but you also haven't committed to adapting to a problem. And that's when it's easiest to complain. And I feel that within my own life all the time, I have problems and I think, oh, well, maybe I'll act on this, maybe I'll commit to adapting to it, but that doesn't always seem to work. And when making a choice like that, I would suggest not using a die to roll to make that choice. I think this is an important choice that someone should make, and I think your biggest priority should be not staying in the complaint space, the indecision space, because that is a fertile field for resentment to grow. Because the less control you have over your environment, you might blame someone else for it, but you always have control over adapting versus acting. Sometimes acting is too hard, sometimes adapting is too hard, but every problem is different. You got to figure out your own. When I think about the ancient Stoics, Stoic philosophy, definitely do some research on that if it sounds interesting. It's a lot more popular these days. But you would hear stories of people who were slaves, but they were able to control their own mind, and thusly they were able to adapt to their situation, and that proved to count as a solution, because if you can mentally handle the thing you're bearing, then that counts as acting on it. So you see how there's two ways: there's eliminate the source, there's acting on the source. A really simple example is I tend to have a bad habit when there's a bowl of candy nearby. Acting on the solution would be to get rid of the candy or go away from it. Whereas adapting would be mentally preparing myself to not need it. Now, in that position, I think acting is easier because I can just physically move myself, but adapting is more valuable because resisting temptation is a more valuable skill as time goes on. Oh, and thanks for watching.